when I saw there was 70 something of you, I said, oh, God, I really hope I don't muck this up. But yeah, I want to just thank Lou and Pip for having me, and to say thank you to all of you for giving up your morning to listen to me today. And I hope that what I offer you is some sort of sense. I'm going to, I thought when I was talking for an hour that it'd be really boring for you just to watch my face for that time. So I made one of my very first PowerPoints presentations, which I find amazing. I've been a lecturer for 10 years and I've got away with not doing it until this moment. So you're going to watch one of the first. But before I do that, I thought I'd give a little introduction about who I am and what I do, just so you have a bit of context. So yeah, my name is Abi Mortimer, and I'm an artistic director of a company called Lîla Dance, which, yes, I work with Lou as our producer, and my co-director is Carrie Whitaker. And we started that company in 2005 now. It feels like forever ago. And we started it because we had just done an MA, and we knew that we had sort of something that we wanted to say. We knew that we had a language. We knew that we were passionate and we didn't want to stop. So we just started making work. And I didn't know at the time that I was starting a company. We just thought we were making work. I didn't know anything about what that future would be. And I was lucky enough to, we were presenting our work at a platform. And I was lucky enough to, that one of the new artistic directors at the time called Gregory Nash was in the audience. So we started this association with the Point, because that was his organization. And also in that associateship at the time was Stopgap and was Hoffer Schechter. So I was really lucky in that I had some amazing mentors at the start of my life, and that I sort of found myself in a position of owning a company. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to say, is to contextualize what you're going to see now. Is I don't know if I set out to do this, as I'm sure many of you won't know. I can see some people smiling already and nodding, thinking, yeah, I found myself with a company that I didn't know I had. But I think that you know, in life, you can, in dance world, you follow opportunities and you're not quite sure where they can take you. So this is kind of a bit of a disclaimer that I'm going to say at this point, is that I'm going to talk to you about my experiences and what I've found useful, but they aren't facts and they aren't necessarily your route round. So they are my kind of feelings and opinions about my experiences. Okay, so with that context, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. And I'll ask Lou and Pip if you can just see this. All good? Okay, great. So yeah, I was given the lovely challenge by Southeast Dance to think about the things I wish I'd known. And I've actually had a really lovely time going down memory lane, thinking about my past and where I've come from, where I am now, and wondering what advice I would give a 21-year-old Abi. And so these are kind of a collection of thoughts that I've put together, that hopefully one or two or three things might ring for you. I'll start quite generically about things that I wish I'd known, that I think that might be relevant to not just people starting their own company, but dancers, producers, people that maybe don't know what you're where you are in the art world yet and where you want to go. And then later on, I'm going to hone in a little bit into things I wish I'd known when I'd started my own company. Okay, so here we go. Okay, the first one, really important. You're definitely going to make mistakes. And I think that I didn't do a lot of things because I worried that I might make mistakes. And I think if someone just told me, don't worry, you're definitely going to, Abi, it's going to happen for you, I probably would have just done more things and not worried about them. So that's the first thing I want to say to you, is there's no way that your life so far in any institution has prepared you for the life in the dance world. And you're going to learn lots of stuff on the way. And because you can't know everything, you're going to make some mistakes. Don't worry about them. Try to just move on. Don't let them keep you up at night. That's my first thought. You will have heard this everywhere, no doubt, and you'll keep hearing it, but you've got to get out there and network and meet people. obviously you are all doing fantastically well because you're here today. We're in the middle of a pandemic and you're networking. You've given your name to Southeast Dance. I've seen your face, so you've already done something fantastic today. So it's more difficult in the pandemic, but you know, still ways to do it, which you all know. I ask yourself, what is around you already in your region that could provide some networking opportunities for you? What are the dance agencies? What are the organizations? You might have a youth club. You might have a young company starting up. There might be a producer, a photographer. What is it that's going on for you that you can get involved in that will help you get to where you want to go, and that might lift your profile and start for you to get to know other people in the industry? That's always going to be so important. Go to classes, remind yourself why you're in it, dance. Also talk to other people in the class, get to know them. And this is really tricky, but introduce yourself to the teacher. I always found that really strange. And, you know, now when I teach classes and people come over to me and say, hi, that was a really lovely class. I just wanted to say my name's so-and-so, and I've seen your work a bit, and it's so lovely to do your class. Is that even though that feels like, I know because I've been in those shoes, feel like, oh God, can I do that? Can I go up and just introduce myself out of nowhere? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. You'll get a sense straight away whether it's welcomed or not, no doubt, but it will definitely be worth your while. I'm always so flattered when someone comes up and just shakes my hand and or says hi, and we have a quick conversation. So yeah, chat with people. Go to see shows. I think for so many reasons we can forget. I think dancers can often make the worst audiences. They rarely go and see dance. So remind yourself why you're doing this. You know, I think it's so easy to get caught up in what you're doing and to forget why you started it, because you're on this sort of treadmill of trying to get work and trying to network and trying to meet people. Go and remind yourself, go and see shows and remind yourself of the passion. Also, it's really important that you go to see shows so that you get seen at shows. So some venues are quite small and they really do get to know the faces that are in it. So I think that I've developed a few relationships just because I've been in the building a lot and they've got to know my face and know who I am. So shows, events, they're ways for you to get into the building and for people to get to know your face. When they know you, it's a different approach to supporting you than people not knowing you. So any way that you can get known. Talk to artists, it's obvious, but you know, we can forget it. Talk to artists, venues and organizations. Just get to know what people are about and tell them what you're about. Tell them that what you're trying to achieve, and just start a dialogue. And I think at the beginning, it doesn't have to be a large dialogue. It can just be a hello, this is what I am. You can remove the pressure and know that there'll be a second conversation, probably a third. So you don't have to go in with a hard sell. I think a hello and this is what I do is completely fine to start with. And then you'll find whether there's conversation or not. And the second time, the third time, it gets easier. So for those of you that hate to talk, I'm with you. I get it. I understand that it's hard to approach. But I think you can remove some pressure from yourself just by saying that this doesn't have to be a big sell. This can be a real light touch hello, and then somehow it doesn't feel like such a big job. Okay, so once you're getting to know your network, build it, know who's in it and who can help you. So ask these questions. I remember someone did this as an exercise for me once, and I found it really useful. She got me to draw concentric circles, and I had to have the people that were most useful to me closest to me in the circle, and then far away. So I figure out who is my most influential friends and people around me, and then who are the rest of the people in my life that can help me get to where I want to go. And I'm talking here either artistically or strategically. Someone that can feed your artwork, feed your dancing, feed your ideas, and also someone who might, for example, know about funding, know about touring, know about auditions, people that can offer you valuable advice. Is there anyone in your life that you know already that can give you this? Quite often, I think we overlook those people because they can be a bit like your parents, you know, they're always there and you forget. or your brothers, your sisters. They're always there, and you forget that they're kind of useful to you. But I think when I look through my career, those people that have known me from a young age have always been there to support. They're keen to support. When we've done and I think something that shows that is when we've done crowdfunders, the names that pop up over and over again tend to be those people that have been in my life for quite a long time, or been in the lives of the people that dance for us or know the organization. We know them already, they support us. So I think it's worthwhile you making a list while you're here of people that might be influential. They might be people that already teach you. They might be people that have taught you in the past. There might be people that you go to uni with or have gone to uni with. Yeah, so second one comes with a slightly warning, I guess. Who can you trust? And I think this is quite an important question, because I think when I was young and influential, influenced, I was easily influenced. That's what I'm trying to say here. When I was young, I think that it's very easy to be very overwhelmed with everyone that's very experienced talking to them when you feel that you know nothing. And most of them have wonderful insights to give you. But I think it's also useful to know that everyone that you talk to, most people, have their own context of working. They might belong to an organization that has a particular set of thinking or values that may or may not chime with yours. It might be that you get a mentor, an artistic mentor that might be really useful, but might see your art in a way that you don't want to see your art. So I think as time's gone on, I've got used to asking the question, who are my really trusted critical friends that I'm going to surround myself with? Who is it that I know that are going to get the best work out of me? And even if they're brilliant, people around me that are brilliant, it might not be those people that are best for me. So get to know everyone, but I think you'll figure out as time goes on who are the people that are going to be really trustworthy, useful, lovely contacts for you. Yeah, ask yourself as well who might offer you a platform, a teaching opportunity, a commission. And again, on your list, is there anyone that you know already that's going to do that for you? Yeah, fourth point, and this is a big one, and I think Lîla has really lived by this, is that loyalty goes a long way. So, for example, when we first set out, we had dancers work with us for free because we didn't have any money, and we had nothing. And so they wanted to dance, we wanted to make, and so people worked for us. And then when we did get some funding, obviously we had the opportunity to then work with anyone, we could audition, but we employed those dancers then for another 2 years and took them on tour with us because they had earned it. And I think if you behave that way towards people around you, you always see that come back. You see that love come back. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, be wary of the big flashing lights that tempt you. And whilst that can be really useful, ask yourself, yeah, who do I need to look after, and who do I want to look after me, and give some time and loyalty to those relationships. Who is your support network? So also your peers, who's around you that's going to support you in this time? So if you've done an MA, a BA, don't lose those contacts. If you've been to college or you've been to work placements with people, it's really useful just to take their numbers. You might end up dancing together. You might end up producing together. You might end up teaching together. You might need some cover sometimes. And any of you knows anything already, it's that juggling in the dance world is really hard. How are you going to work and go for opportunities and earn money? And I think having a supportive network can be really useful. People that can cover your teaching roles or support you along the way. So keep those contacts that keep you feeling good and supported close to you. Okay, next thoughts. Yeah, question mark here. Is this an opportunity? I ask this because I think that when in our training, you get told a lot that this is, and because we're dancers and we're so well behaved and disciplined, we really commit to this thought, is that we're told all the time, go for all your opportunities, go for it. And everything that you're given, you must go for, you must give your life for. And I think we have to be, in my life, I think that I've learnt to be wary a little bit of what I consider to be an opportunity. So there are always times in your life where you're going to have passion projects, you know, things that you want to do and there aren't any money. And I'd say, great, do them. Absolutely do those ones. But I think there was a time in my life and a time I know in other people's lives when we were younger, where I was chasing all these things so much that I actually wasn't very happy and I wasn't very productive and I didn't earn enough money to really live very well. So I think there are times when, if you're very lucky, when you get lots of opportunities, if it's paid, great. And if it works for you, fantastic. If you're chasing lots of unpaid opportunities, I know that it feels like you must take them all sometimes, but I think you have to find a life balance. So I suppose that's a little bit of a friendly advice I'd like to give you is ask yourself, can I manage everything that I want to take on here? And what is my best opportunities moving forward? Okay, so apply. You got to be in it to win it.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yes.
I've just put something in the chat and I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to leave this call as I have a weekly commitment that I can't miss.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot from hearing even a little bit on this call.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So yeah, apply. You got to be in it to win it. So I think whatever it is you're going for, look for those opportunities and just get your application in. And I always say to people now, even if you've got the time and you're not sure you want to do it, just stick your application in because you can decide later. So whatever it is, auditions, and you know, auditions can come in all different shapes and forms now, can't they? I mean, I did a choreographic audition once with Gary Clark, and that was really fun. Funding, they can come in all different shapes and forms, not just from Arts Council, but organisations can offer little pots of money. They're nearly always advertised on social media, so make sure that you're following and connected to the right people. Associateships, that often means like in-depth partnerships with venues or organisations. Now, if you're starting your own company, this is a big one. This is something that's really changed my career, associateship. So my first one started, my first associateship with Lîla Dance started with The Point, which is a theatre in Eastleigh, which I spoke a little bit about in the introduction. And that really enabled us to have a leg up. We had free space suddenly. We had people that supported us, producers to talk to. We had a marketing department. So we went from really not knowing very much to suddenly having a team of support. Since then, we've applied for other associateships, and Lîla's also been associate at Pavilion Dance Southwest, and they were able to offer us a little bit of commissioning and funding money. So these things can offer be long-term relationships that I find also can go beyond that contract. So my Point associateship ended in like 2008, and then Lou and I applied for the at-home artists only a couple of years ago, but we've kept that a relationship with them in those 10 years in between, because it's an opportunity to really get to know that venue and for them to get to know you. So I look out for them as a company, as someone who owns a company, and we go for those a lot. Partnerships, yeah, sort of slightly not as in-depth as associateships, but who might offer you a tour venue, who might offer you a class, who might offer you a commission. So who are your partnerships and how do you keep them close to you? How do you keep reminding them that you're working and you're alive? So once that you've done delivered for them, or you've made that first contact, how do you keep them on your radar? So it's really important that you involve them in what you're doing, so you turn the one-offs into partnerships. I think that's something that our company is really good at, is that we chase up people, and we don't often just do a workshop without or anything that's a small one-day event without then a follow-up. Touring offers, they can be out there as well. We went for one with the rural touring and got it, and that offered us a whole other then network, a different way to tour. which was really fantastic. So they're out there. Apprenticeships and internships. Leela's had an apprentice, made a role for someone in our company, which meant we were able to offer mentorship to a dancer inside the company and change her career path. And these are out there, so look for them. And free space, that can come in all different shapes and sizes. I want to say something about applying, is that most of the time you're not going to get it. And that's just the thing you have to do, I'm afraid. I would say our company's record is probably, we might get about 1 in 30 to 40 applications. And that's okay. You know, I think if you get your heart broken every time you get a no, it's going to be really painful for you. So it's much better just to know that the likelihood of you getting it is small always, because there's nearly always so many more companies. There's 200 people or whatever going for one spot. But it's then your consistency, which brings me on to my next point. Apply again. So if you didn't get it the first time, you're then one step closer to getting it the second time, because they now know your name. They might have refused you, but they now know your name and they know a little bit about who you are. So keep applying. Don't be put off by the first rejection. They come and it's normal, and then you just keep going. I think the people that have come the first, my sort of people that I know in the dance world, are those people that are really resilient to challenge, and that they just keep putting themselves out there. Okay, so this is a question I kind of wanted to put out to for something for you to think about, and it's something that I think that I took a while to figure out how to do this. But yeah, what is professional? How do you present yourself? And I think because we don't kind of, this is not training that you receive in your work, in your at university or at conservatoire, is how do you behave when you get out into the real world? How do you start a conversation? What tone do you take? And I think this can be really hard. And I kind of wanted to say, how is it that what side of yourself do you want to show? That's the question. Who are you talking to, and what side of yourself do you want to show? So quite often, for example, I have on many more than one occasion received an email that's like, "Dear Abi, I'm really interested in getting to know Lîla Dance, blah, 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 something else, yours sincerely." And then I read it and it's a name that then I really know. And I realize I've taught them for 8 years. And just their language has somehow distanced themselves from my already existing relationship with them. And I know that they were trying to be professional and say all the right things. And probably respecting space and all of that, but at the same time, I think that it's easy to come across cold because you're trying to be, say and do the right thing. So I think when we associate professionalism with kind of handshakes and yours sincerely's, that's not always the best way to talk to those people in your life or in the arts world that are going to be able to offer you support or might offer you an opportunity. You have to make sure it doesn't swing the other way as well. I've received lots of emails with lots of emojis and stuff in as well, and I'm not such a fan of that either. So I think it's finding the right tone. So ask yourself, what language do I need to use with this person? What kind of relationship? If you want to be a dancer in the space with them, then I think using this, that kind of yours sincerely and that kind of tone isn't necessarily the way that you want to present or show who you are. So there's something even in email tone now, and even in your communication, where I think enthusiasm and personality and for the job just takes you a long way. So don't worry about dotting your I's and crossing your T's too much, is my advice. Be yourself, be open, be friendly, be enthusiastic. Learn about tax. I mean, I'm sure you've probably all heard about this from somewhere. Learn about tax. Get on board. So I remember when I first started, I walked past someone who I was in the halls, and they said to me in a studio, said, "Abi, by the way, you need to get self-employed." This was before I started anything, and I just don't even know what that means. What do you mean I need to get self-employed? And what it means is you need to get a unique tax reference number that's about tax. And that enables you to work on board. And I know that this can be a really scary thing for most people starting out. It was for me, because I was confused about what it all meant. And I remember the way I handled it was, at the time, I don't think you can do this, but I just went to my local tax office and just sat and asked for an appointment and waited for one, and then sat and spoke to someone for an hour about what it was I did and what I needed to know. But tax and knowing about tax can be really useful to you. So if you're self-employed, you need to already, and probably starting as of yesterday, start to collect everything that you spend on your job. So for example, maybe you have a laptop that you use to do class. That is part of your expenditure. Maybe you pay for cups of teas when you go out and have a business meeting. Maybe you have to get a sandwich on the run. Keep every single one of those receipts. You can get all that back if you work for yourself. Okay, so you need to be really organized in keeping track of what you spend. I have a little, on my phone, I have like a notes, you know, like a on my notes page. And then what I just do is I just add, every time I go out and I post something for my company, or I buy someone a cup of tea, I just quickly add it in my notes and take a photo of the receipts. And there are loads of apps that you can store then, but get organized with that, because it can be a real difference between you kind of coping with your money and not. And the other thing to say is that, yeah, sometimes we really worry about receiving tax bills, but it can work in both directions. So in my first 2 years, I think, of being a freelancer, I got a tax rebate, which meant that they gave me money because it took me so much money and time to set up my own company. So it's worth being above board. As I have set up my own company, your tax then changes as well. So I can now apply, as a company, I can apply for something called company tax, I think it's called, company tax, which means that you can claim back all of a certain percentage of your expenses that you spent in making a production, so that then you get some money back on that. So again, being above board, knowing about it, or knowing about someone who knows about it, or getting a great accountant, can make a really big difference to how you run your own business, whether it's your personal business or your company. Try not to be put off by this. It's okay, trust me, it'll be okay. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth now about starting your own company. And this is something I didn't realize, is that it's when you start a company. I started it because I love to dance and I wanted to make work. But I didn't realize is that I was starting my own business. And someone told me, you need an elevator pitch. Does anyone know what an elevator pitch is? I know you're on silent. Just take a moment to ask yourself, have you ever been asked to come up with an elevator pitch? Basically, it's being able to say who you are and what you do in the time it would take an elevator to go from one floor to the next. So that if you ever find yourself with a tiny amount of time with someone important, you know what it is you're going to say about yourself. You know how to introduce yourself. Yes, I think really useful. You know that when you start your own company, you're not, this is actually, you then become the spokesperson for your own business, and you are the person that sell your own brand. So you have to learn to talk about what you do. And I really hated that. I found it really hard to talk about my own work, but it does get easier. The more you refine your own language around what you do, it does get easier. Learn how to apply to Arts Council. In England, we often call that ACE. You'll hear people call it ACE, Arts Council England. They do have their own language, and you can learn their own language if you go onto their website and you download their Let's Create strategy, which tells you all about who it is they're going to fund and why they're going to fund it and how they're going to use their publicly funded money. So if you're not sure, and if you haven't come across this, then make sure I have that document on my computer, so that every time I write an Arts Council app, I'm always referring back to it. And so I'm using their own language. People get really good at that. Lou is incredible at this, our producer. She knows the language that we have to use for Arts Council. When I first wrote my, wrote my first arts application, I'd come out of an MA. Okay, so I wrote an essay that included a bibliography. Now you think about that in my Arts Council, and naturally it was rejected straight away, and I had to write it all again. But yeah, your training in essay writing, your in-depth research is not necessarily going to help you with this application. So figure out what language you have to use, download it, and speak to people that can offer you help. So start your own project by writing a budget. I've fallen into this many times when I was a young artist, and when I had an idea, I said, I've got this great idea. One of my ideas was we had a fantastic youth company, still do. And I said to Carrie, I've got a great idea. We're going to create a work. We're going to use 6 professional dancers, and we're going to use 6 of our youth company, and they're going to tour with us through the country. And that was my fantastic idea. And it'll be an intergenerational work, and it's going to be absolutely brilliant. And so I met with Denise Arts Council, and she just said to me, "Are you absolutely mad?" was her first comment. And then she helped me draw up not just the budget, but the legalities of what it is I was saying, and the thousands and thousands of pounds that my little idea was going to cost us. And before realizing that it was a bit of a pipe dream at that point in my life. So start by writing a budget. And when you write your budget, you need to think about everything, all the money that's going to come in and everything that you're going to spend, and do that before you even bother to then do your next sort of planning, whatever it is it's going to be. Find out if it's doable and get someone to proofread it. Did you just flinch when I mentioned the word budget? Maybe you did. I did not know how to use Excel, and now I am the bookkeeper for my company. So I deal with all the budgets, I deal with all the taxes, I deal with all the tax returns and the accountants, and that's something I've learnt on the job. I now love a spreadsheet. I can't get enough of them. I love numbers because they're exact and the art world isn't. So I know exactly where I'm at and what I need to do. And it gives you, if you own your company and you know how our project is worked out financially, it can give you some power over what it is that you're doing and how you do it, because you know the sort of money you need to get to do the projects you need. So learn how to write a budget, learn how to use Excel if you're starting your own company, is my advice to you. You're going to love it, trust me. Don't be put off. All those buttons that give you these short, they're just genius, brilliant things. Okay, newsflash, venues do not very often respond to emails from companies. And I'm afraid this is just something you're going to find again and again and again. I can't tell you how many times I've sent an email and not had one in return, or how many times I've had to email any venue to get one email back. I could be in the teens sometimes. And from their perspective, they are inundated with people, companies, choreographers, emailing them and telling them how fantastic their work is and that they need to book them. I don't think in the last 10 years I've ever got a tour date by simply sending an email. It just doesn't work that easily. So I think that you have to find other ways in to getting to know an organization and getting to book a tour or build a partnership or building a relationship. But I can tell you from my experience, emails are on their own and simply just not the way to go. You need to somehow get a meeting, go for coffee, find some way to meet, have a conversation in order to take your relationship to the next level. So if you have already sent emails and not got a response, don't worry, you're not on your own. This is just the nature of the world we live in. Another piece of advice that I think that's really helped our company is use free studio space. So it might be that you have like a studio that you use all the time, and that it's free to you and it's at home, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it might not be the best space for you to use, strategically speaking. Free space is a way for you to get in a building and get to know the people in the building, show them what you've got, I've written, invite them in, show them what you're doing, and build a partnership. So we have before, even though I've been able to get free space, I live in Chichester and I can get free space at the university in Chichester, we have before rehearsed in Yorkshire. simply because we needed to build a relationship with that venue, with Yorkshire Dance, who was offering us this space. It cost us more money, but we're able to build a relationship and find a way in. Also, just want to have a note about that, get to know the people in the building, because quite often I find that the job role for what you feel is going to be the person that's going to help you. So for example, if you want a tour, and you know that the person who does the tour booking is the creative producer, you've got their email and you're not getting any response, and you think that might be the end of the line. I found that it's not always that way. So for example, Lîla has an incredible education department. We do lots with participation. And we have built relationships because we built relationships with their education officer. And through that line in, we've been able to get tours and bigger opportunities. So it might not be the one email that you've been hitting all the time, might not be the best person to know. It might even be that you have a friend that's graduated that's in that building. Get them to put in some good words for you. Yeah, so there are many ways to get to build relationships, but physically being in the space is a really good one. Yeah, I've just written Rome wasn't built in a day, and learn on the job. So at this point, when I've spoken a lot, I just wanted to say to you, all of this won't sink in at this point, and that I am still continually learning. I learn from all the brilliant people around me all the time, and that it's okay to say, I don't know what you're talking about, or I need help. It's perfectly fine to ask for that. You don't need to pretend that you know everything. I felt like I sort of had to do a lot of nodding in the early part of my career, and now I've given up that, and I mostly say, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're talking about. Can you please explain that to me? So yeah, give yourself a break. You don't have to know everything. You're going to continue to learn, and we all still are. This is a big one for me. Treat your dancers and collaborators and everyone that you work with as you wish to be treated. When we own a company, and I think that everyone that it is that comes to work with us, I want them, to the best of my possible experience, to have a good experience. I want them to feel valuable, appreciated, and respected. I've got no interest in intimidating the people that I work with. I've got no interest in asserting my hierarchy in a way that's not useful. So in Lîla, we always say, if a good idea comes from the room, then it's a good idea. It doesn't matter who it comes from. And we want everyone in the room to feel that they can put their good ideas forward, and that they don't feel too intimidated to do so. So if you do find yourself in a lucky position of having funding and being able to hire people, think about how maybe you've been treated by someone who's had funding in the past, who's treated you really well and who maybe hasn't, and how do you want to run your company? Buy them biscuits. Lou buys the biscuits for us in our company, and we're always so grateful when she comes in with them. And we have a food committee which I run in Lîla Dance. So when we stay over places, we have a food committee, and I always make the dinner for the first night to make everyone feel welcome and at home. And we pay our dancers as much as the budget will possibly allow, and as we do pay all of our collaborators as much as we can possibly can, so that we know that our money goes to the right people that are working really hard, and that they feel respected and loved. Last slide, this is, be realistic about your expectations. Things take time. You know, you might see some of your friends walk into incredible jobs with Hofesh and tour around the world, and that's fantastic. That might not be your career route, and that's absolutely fine. I found that the reason why all you can do in these situations is offer advice is because career routes are so unique. They can take you in so many different directions, and you just don't know which way yours is going to go yet necessarily, and that can be really exciting. Be patient with yourself. Let things happen. Don't expect too much too soon. Enjoy the journey. I think we can get so caught up in thinking about where it is you want to go, you forget that what you're doing right now is incredible. Sometimes I do have to remind myself that I'm paid to dance, and I mean that in every realm that I do. I'm paid to spend some time teaching the amazing students that I teach, and that I get to see their ideas evolve, and that I get to spend time with incredible artists who see the world in fantastic ways. And it's so easy to get caught up in what you haven't got that you forget what you have got, which brings me to my next point, which is congratulate yourself when you do achieve. Sometimes you can get on, you're so on the treadmill that you forget that. And so we always try to at least go for a drink, or in these days we meet on Zoom and have a gin online, and just say, you know, we did well there. Let's just take a moment to just pause and say, this was great. I can't say that enough. Make that time with the people around you. Enjoy the journey. And then the last one, eat good food. When is that not good advice? It will make you feel good at the beginning, middle, and end of your day. That's everything I'm going to say now from this side, and I'm ending this, so I'm just going to stop sharing. And then I'm be very, very happy to take your questions.
Thanks, Abi. That was really great. So any questions, please do pop them in the chat or wave at us and we can keep an eye on the room. Who'd like to kick off? Just trying to go through and see everyone.
I think so. I can see, is it Alison with a hand up?
Yeah,
Alison,
I've got a question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, Abi. Thanks, Abi. That was really great. I learned a lot there. I just had a question. You kind of mentioned it with the biscuits, but I'm at that stage where I'm hoping to work with dancers but can't pay them yet, and don't have any funding and can't rely on my own money to pay them. And I'm just wondering if you had any advice on how to treat dancers as well as possible whilst asking them to work for free, and what you can do instead.
I can completely understand that situation, and it's the most normal place to be in at the beginning. I think the first thing is just to be really clear in your communication. Mostly that if dancers know exactly what they're getting themselves in for from the outset, and there are no surprises and they're with you, then that's really clear. I think people get annoyed if there's something that there's expected of them that they don't feel they've signed up for. So communicate really well with them. Little things that you can afford, I do think goes a long way. So I'm doing a little bit of work with two dancers at the moment who, Madison, who I've just seen is online, and Amy, and it's a bit of a passion project for us. We have no budget for it. So I'm paying them a little bit, but like I made them cakes last week, and I bought coffee in a flask because I knew it was a long day for them. It's just to say that, you know, I would do more if I could, but I care. And I think also for me, I know I ask a lot of my dancers, for example, and emotionally I might ask a lot of them. So it's about saying that when you give your response, when you put your body and your emotions out there, I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that goes a long way. No problem.
There's a question in the chat from Emma Bowman. So it says, in terms of finances at the beginning of the company starting up, how did this work alongside living costs? Did it need to be supplemented with a second job?
Yes, absolutely. It needed second job. I had two, and I think Carrie had three at the best of times when we started Lîla. And I think it's finding the right job, whatever that job is for you, that gives you flexibility to also get where you need to go in the arts world. So, for example, our apprentice had recently actually had an amazing job at Bill's, simply because they were so flexible with all the time she had to have off to work with us, and that she had a cohort of friends that worked there where she could change shifts with them. So that job doesn't necessarily, you need the job, you need money, right? We all need to live. So you have to find a way to create. And then I guess if you're starting a company, my first advice to you is think about writing your ASAP. And I know that Lou, if I might just put your services forward here, does a brilliant job at Southeast Dance of offering, giving free advice to artists who want to do this. So there is help out there in how to write funding apps. But when you get that little bit of money in, then you can start to make a change in what it is that the way that you operate. But even now, still, you know, I own a company, but I'm also a lecturer at the University of Chichester for over half my time. So my company doesn't pay me for half my time. It's still it's a passion project and it's brilliant, but I still have to work at other places.
There's another question from Tilly saying, you mentioned how making connections with organisations is best in person. Do you have suggestion on how to do this at the moment?
Oh yeah, at the moment it's so hard, isn't it? So I guess the equivalent of Zoom, isn't it, is that you take them onto a Zoom. If it was in real life, I used to just say, can I take you for a coffee? And I just used to buy a coffee and start a conversation. And you know, sometimes those conversations go nowhere, and it's okay, because it might be that they come back in the future. So I think it's the COVID equivalent of the coffee at the moment is a Zoom. I guess that's my advice. And also just keeping people involved in what you're doing, either through social media, or you might create a newsletter. We've just got on the newsletter bandwagon even now, so that you find ways to keep those contacts, that you just keep them connected. So even though you might not be meeting with them, that you give them opportunities to see who you are and see what you're doing. Actually, another piece of advice is actually separate your personal social media stuff from your professional social media stuff. Don't mix those two.
Yeah, also I'll just add to that there are some networks that are running online. So if you there's What Next, which is a national network, but there's it runs every other Thursday at 10 a.m. It's on Zoom, but it comes from Brighton, and there's loads of different artists who join that. I'll put it in the chat, the link. So, you know, have a look for what other networks are working online as well. There are a few that have gone online and that you could ask to join. And like Michaela has, you can always use these sessions for networking, putting your email in the chat, starting conversations after these sessions. That's what they're also as much for networking, and for everybody who comes. You know, it's a chance for people to you might, you know, your question doesn't necessarily have to link up with what we're talking to today. If you've got a burning question that you want to ask, or you might want to put a question out to the room who wants to have a conversation afterwards. You know, we have had other groups that have done that and people have met up. I think we probably got time for a couple more questions. Anybody?
There's someone titled Dance School Assistants with her hand up.
Yes, go for it.
Hi, sorry, that's a business name. My name's Amy. It's nice to see you again, Abby. You choreographed for London Studio Centre a few years ago.
Hi, Amy. Yes, I know. I remember you very well. Hi.
Okay, good. Yeah, so thank you for this. One thing I did an application for funding the other day, and when they're doing the budget, I was told that you have to be realistic, obviously, and I went on Equity to see what the minimum wage was for dancers, and also for choreographers. And I found it weird to put in my own salary, and it was like so much higher than the dancers, and it didn't feel right. But my kind of mentor was saying, like, well, you have to be realistic, and because you have to pay yourself, otherwise why would you be kind of why would you be asking for funding if you're giving so much of your own money? So I just wondered if, like, did you have the same kind of thing where you had to factor in your pay, and then did you like actually take that money, or did you actually kind of feed it in different areas?
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely it's really important to pay yourself, and you definitely shouldn't feel guilty about that, because if you're going to keep going on doing this, you need to make a career out of it. So yeah, let us remove that guilt from you right now and say, yeah, absolutely give yourself a wage. I think also it's time specific for us. So if, for example, I know I need to research the idea and and I'm putting in more time than the dancers, obviously when you're making work, then it is okay that you reflect that you pay yourself for the time that you've got. Quite often I have to say that I pay myself exactly the same wage as I pay my dancers when I'm actually in the space with them. I know not every choreographer does, but Carrie and I, who own Lîla Dance, have the way that we have continued to function and pay it forward is that we know that even if the money goes back into the company, it's saved in the budget, as long as we've taken what we need to live and survive, and that we're happy with that amount, that money then can also go towards making more money for my next Arts Council application, and it supports the future of the company. So you definitely need to pay yourself to live. And then I guess you can work your budget around what you feel what money you might need for the future or so forth. Yeah, and also when you own a company, you have the fees that you charge might be more expensive than if you're just a personal artist. So, for example, when Lîla goes out and we deliver a workshop, I don't just charge for my fees, because that's the sort of income that's going to pay for our storage, for our accountant, for producer fees, for funding application. So let's say I want to be paid £150, I might charge £300 for the workshop, and then I pay myself 150, and that 150 then goes back into the company to support all of your future work. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just good business. You need to survive.
I think we've probably got time for one more question. Oh, Katie.
Yeah, hi, thanks so much, Abi.
Hi, Katie.
I think something that I'm finding quite hard is sort of the multiplicity of being a dance artist at the moment. And I think also of like the confidence of like, you know, I trained in dance, or like, you know, I did pliés for 3 years, but I'm expected to write a risk assessment or like plan for COVID, and then also be my own finance manager and marketing person. And I'm also like doing my taxes, and I'm self-employed, and I like, of course this is what I signed up for. But I think it's like how like just knowing that I can do all these things, even though it's not what I trained in. Like I wasn't trained in graphic design, but I'm making my own website, and like who am I to do all this stuff in a way? Or like, you know, at what point do I employ someone to make that for me? At what point do I not YouTube how to edit a dance trailer together? At what point do I assign that role to someone else? Because I'm making everything, and like that's so many roles that I didn't actually train for. And I like, how do you, like, what do you like? Of course I want to do it all, and of course I'm going to do it, because I can't afford to do it in any other way right now. But like, it's just like the different avenues of it. How help?
Yeah, I completely understand that, Katie. And I think because whenever you start out, unless you're very, very lucky, you're going to self-produce. You know, we self-produced for maybe 5 years, I think, before we had our first producer, and did all of the things that you're talking about. And so one thing that I think is useful maybe is give yourself achievable deadlines. You know, is that I think there's always so much urgency around, oh my God, I have to create this work for this time, and then I've got to do all this, and I'm going to tour in the space of 2 weeks, and it's all going to happen then. And it's give yourself time to work these things out. So I would say that your projects can be slightly lengthier at the beginning, so that you're not working with deadlines that are stressful to you, and that you just give yourself time to learn these and seek advice. As Lou said, there is all these workshops and people around that are able to offer really valuable advice. I got some work with through Southeast Dance, actually, when I started with Gwen Van Spike, and I had 5 sessions with her about how to write a budget. What is it that I want? How do I organize my finances? And just for once a week, for like 3 hours, I sat down with her and got that advice. And so those people are out there. And until you kind of get your first pot of money, it is always a lot on you. But what I will say is, although it can feel stressful, those skills that you're learning are so brilliant and transferable. So for example, like a musician that that was with us, with Lîla, and was one of the directors for a long time before he went on to do other things, he took on doing marketing management for Lîla, which he, like you, Katie, learned completely from scratch. Didn't know how to make a logo, didn't know how to edit a trailer, and just learnt it all on the job. In the end, we called him Digital Doug. That's what he did. And then after doing that for the company for like 5 years, he then applied for jobs, marketing jobs. And he then had this CV that said, I've done this work, and he was able to show this work. Our apprentice, again, I knew nothing about finances at all. And now I deal with, you know, our budgets can sometimes sum up to, we do turnovers of £80,000 in a year. I started doing £3,000, and that was a lot. But I think what's lovely about when you start your own company is you grow with it. As the demands get better, you kind of get a bit better, and you get a little bit more support. And we give a lot of those responsibilities to Lou now because she's our producer, but we had them all to start with. And so, and I think what's great about that is I have a really deep empathy for what Lou's going through. So when she says, I'm writing this app, I'm still on it, I know because I've been there and I understand it. And I think that that's never, ever going to go to waste. So try as much as you can to see it as an asset and try to enjoy the creative parts of it. But definitely, Katie, that when you sign up to have your own company, it's like I said before, you don't realize you're signing up to own a business. But little pots of money will help you get the right thing. And I know that you've spoken already and you've got mentorship in your budget. So maybe after this, Katie, we could talk and have a look to see if your budget is right for the sort of support you need.
Great, thank you so much, Abi.
No worries.
Thank you.
Also, just adding to what Abi said, I've put it in the chat, but there's a really brilliant free service that you can sign up for from the Arts Council. We've used it loads at Lîla. That's called the Digital Culture Network. I've put the website in the chat, and they have what they call tech champions. They've got a website tech champion, a social media tech champion. You can book free one-to-one sessions with those people. You know, we set up a new website at Lîla, and we had sessions with Roberta, who's the website tech expert, and it was brilliant. She made us really think about everything that we needed to think about before we started our website, who our audience is, why we were creating a new website, and there's a whole load of information as well. They do loads of online training, so have a look at their website. It's really I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And check out our website too, liladance.co.uk. Do you see that little plug? That's how you do it. Just stick it in there at the end.
But also, I do have a look at the new Lîla website. We spent all of basically last year, when we couldn't do any actual work in the studio, creating a really creative website. And you know, have a look at it. If you're creating your own website, feel free to steal ideas from it. We think we've created something that's really, really useful, and a website that people want to have a look at. So do have a look. Thank you, everybody. There's a couple of messages. I'm just going to check there isn't a last question. I know that some people have got to rush off. Please do go if you have to go. We are a few minutes over. And do save the chat. People have put their email addresses in, so do get in touch with people. People have put Instagram things on and things like that, so you can look at what other people are doing on their social media. Abi mentioned a few things about applying to Arts Council. We've got a session coming up on the 4th of February, which is how to apply to Arts Council for the first time. So you can sign up for that. We've also got a session on writing a budget coming up, so you can also come to that. On Monday coming, we've got a professional class with the lovely Sarah Golding, who's also performed for Lîla many times. She's doing a professional class, and then afterwards she will be also talking about how she gets work as a jobbing dancer, how she auditions, how she finds those opportunities. So that'd be really valuable as well. And the last thing I want to say is just that we do have a tiny little bit of what we're calling bursary budget for this. So if you aren't working at the moment and you need some money to support you to come to these sessions, although they're free, you know, we want to pay for people's time, those people who haven't had any work for a long time, who aren't on universal credit, who are really struggling. There's some information on the website, but otherwise, if you just email Pip, which is pip.sayers@southeastdance.org.uk, we just, all you have to do is just write a tiny little paragraph about why you need that money, and you know, we might not have enough to go around for everybody, but hopefully we will be able to help some people. So I just want to say thank you, Abi. That was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much to Pip and Lou for inviting me to do this. It's been a lovely trip, and thank you all for being an audience. Take me down memory lane, and good luck to you all.
Thank you so much, and thank you. So great to see so many of you. Do share the word with other dance artists and your friends that you know. This is a free program. It's probably going to be running through to like March or maybe even April. We've got lots of things we're covering, and also, like I said, we're recording them, so eventually they will go up on our website. We did do a session this week on tax, how to be self-employed, how to do your self-assessment, everything that you need to know about that. And so if you missed that, that was recorded and it will be up on the website, so keep an eye out for that. Abi mentioned that we do artist advisories. So again, I know that quite a few of you that I can see your faces have had artist advisories, which is great, but also doesn't mean you just have to have one. You know, you can always book up for more. And if you contact Pip, there's a little form on the website you can fill in saying this is what I want to talk about, and then Pip can make sure she matches you up with the right person at Southeast Dance. But otherwise, thank you so much. I hope you all have lovely Fridays. I hope to see you at Sarah's session on Monday. And again, thank you, Abi. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.